I think we learnt that in question one we found out that it was very informative. I think the viewers learnt how how music is produced in the last 10 years, and there was lots of facts and information about how music has progressed and changed over the last 10 years, and some of the audience didn't really know that until they watched this film, especially the older audience that we got feedback from. That's what we set out to succeed, really. Wanted to give the viewers a better knowledge of how music has changed in the last 10 years. Made it simple and easy to understand how music works now in terms of software like Cubase, and that's what the audience picked up straight away. They didn't really get, they thought it'd cost loads of money, you had to be really rich, you'd have to have a big hit to record music, but anyone can do it. The audience thought that the interviews were clear and they knew what Ian's views and opinions were on how clubbing has changed over the last 10 years. They thought that was really interesting and informed them of stuff they maybe didn't know 10 years ago. The audience again didn't have a clue how much the music has changed and how it's gone from a more rock and roll pop scene 10 years ago to being basically drum and bass and electronically based stuff now. That's how they were unaware of that and just somehow didn't know. The narration they really liked, and it informed them of any missing pieces that either it showed them who Ian was, told them who Mike was and Broken Rain, which they wouldn't have understood if we had no narration in there, so that helped them in the informative side. And maybe some improvements we could have made was we should have included more statistics and facts of the genres that were on top 10 years ago compared to the genres now, and also that maybe even beyond that, and how it's changed over the years, and how again rock and roll's gone right down and it's became more in electronically based music. I think they found it really entertaining. They liked the start and the narration on how it got straight into the point. It told them all about what the documentary was, and as that was so catchy, it made them want to watch the rest of the documentary, even if they didn't have much of an interest in music or the likes of Ian Austin and other DJs. The soundtracks and B-roll archive that were given to them, they found fun to watch and listen to, and fitted in well with the genre we tried to get and the conventions. They liked how it chopped and changes and went from certain archive footage back to the interview, back to more cutaways, as that that grabbed their attention and they didn't lose focus whilst people were talking for quite a fair bit of time. We could have improved on quite a few things. I think the sound balance was hard to pick up on at times, especially in the Broken Rain interviews and some of the narration, and by doing that it made it harder to watch, so therefore less entertaining. And also that was really it for how we could have improved, but they liked how we used a live band. That made it interesting, and it showed them how anyone could be successful in the industry without having any money to start with or any recording equipment, and it also helps the local community. And another quite a significant point was with the use of electronic and technology now, that the likes of artists that have came through today, the likes of Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, mainly have been so successful because of the success of YouTube. The likes of Gangnam Style having 1 billion views, that wouldn't have sold as big a record without YouTube nowadays. And they loved the interviews, and especially Ian's interview, as one of the audience we interviewed there, they're quite older, so they had scenes of the 80s and 90s, the rave scenes, and they didn't realise how much it changed now with it's more about having a cheap night out than having a good time. And that's really all we did for how entertaining, but that's what we set out to do. We set out to make it entertaining, and we certainly felt that the audience felt that. Well, we learnt that was very professional looking and composed, composed well. That's what the audience thought. They thought the photos and sound quality was very good, and it all worked technically quite well. The soundtrack that we used fitted perfectly, as it had a mix of Ian doing his own mix and a chart music of today. Maybe what we could have done is have some more music from recent 10 years ago, but that wasn't too a problem. The lighting was very good, and apart from Broken Rain, which wasn't really our fault, it was really the venue, but they still thought that the interview worked well and was good, even though it was bad lighting in the end. And also with the sound, because of Broken Rain, it was at a gig. There was other bands playing in the background, which made it hard to pick out on, but they still felt that technically it all worked well, despite being quite loud and was hard to focus on, even though you couldn't hear what Broken Rain was saying. Well, I think they found it a really good documentary, and it's they wanted to watch more, and they expected just how a Channel 4 MTV documentary would look. And one of the interviewees said that if they wish it was longer, they were gutted that it was only the first 5 minutes. So that shows that we had a good quality documentary there that lots of other people probably have the same opinion and want to watch. The mix of music and interview is what normally the professional documentaries do, and it just doesn't make the documentary all speech and too boring. It was a good quality product. Again, if they came on screen, they would watch the whole documentary, and they wouldn't turn it over. The older generation also liked it, as it was really informative to them, and it was some documentaries that are on TV you don't exactly want to watch, but you end up watching and enjoying. And I feel this would be one of them, as they got real good knowledge from what happened in the noughties and the present day on how music's changed, whereas they only really know the 80s and 90s. It was no different to a professional media product. That was one of the main opinions we got, and it conveyed all the codes and conventions. There was different genres of music for each interview. The likes of Broken Rain had more heavy metal, Ian had the DJ, and Mike had the electronic. That all worked together, and it's what documentaries normally use, so they have different opinions and not all the same, as in, so it's shown there's no bias. Also the archive footage used with the likes of Gangnam Style added to the professional values. They were professional videos themselves. A couple of improvements we could have done with to make it just like a Channel 4 product would be to use more archive footage from 10 years ago, with the likes of Eminem, Last Ketchup, that song, and some shots were slightly too long, which you wouldn't really see in a professional documentary. Obviously depending on the type of documentary it is, but in a music documentary it's expect to be short and snappy. Some of ours were slightly too long, and we needed more cutaways. Again, the narration you'd expect to see really stand out and on the TV, a bit like Brian Blessed or the X Factor man. They have really powerful voices, and we felt our narration, although it's good, it wasn't what you'd expect on TV. As they thought that if it was 30 minutes it would get a bit tedious, but apart from that, I think the way we set out to make it inform, entertain and make it like a real media product, it really worked, and the audience thought that, and I think there wasn't really much that we can improve on.